All right. So the much anticipated The Riddler Year 1 issue number 2 has dropped, and as always, I'm incredibly stoked to learn and bring forward what's in store for our boy Babyface. Last issue started off strong as we saw him in the workplace, as we got to see how he is treated in said workplace, society as well, and also the many ways how he views himself, which honestly isn't the healthiest. After following a suspicion on some possibly corrupt activities within his company, he soon comes to figure out that something is not right, and there is something going on within the perfect city of Gotham, as that brings us to this issue. Without wasting any more time, let's dive in. Issue 2 starts off in a dream. "What's your name?" a familiar voice asks. "It's okay to be shy. I was once a kid too." "Edward," he replies. "Well, my name is Thomas. What's you like in school, Edward?" Edward replies that he likes riddles, puzzles, and numbers. Nothing but that good old mental stimulation. Thomas Wayne lets Edward in on a little secret that the renewal project in which he is proposing can help him go to a special math and science school to further flex that little nerd brain of his. Edward replies joyfully, "Really?" Thomas lays down a riddle. The joy increases within baby Edward. "What is always in front of you but cannot be seen?" Babyface quickly replies with, "The future." Thomas lets him know that he is indeed correct and that his future is bright, because remember, you matter. Finally, someone other than me telling Edward that he matters. Boy really needs a support system in his life. Something's not right, Edward thinks to himself. What's not right? As a familiar voice approaches from his backside, intruding on his work. "What?" Edward asks, as Zach, the office asshole, is looming right behind him. He points down to his notes like the nosy little slime that he is. "Oh, it's, nothing," he replies, as he tries to cover it up like nothing was even there in the first place. Zach is mentioning how the day is going a little slower than usual, and that he had a bit of a late night last night celebrating his new promotion. Edward is stunned. "Promotion?" he chokes. Zach says, "Yeah," and that he now has his own office, which is conveniently right across from Edward, as they are now office neighbors. You can tell that in this moment, the world has completely stopped for our boy, as he knows with 100% awareness that the shit end of the stick is yet again being shoved directly up his ass. Zach tells him to not slow down too much or he'll have to crack the whip on him. Edward gathers himself, or at least tries to, and lets Zach know that he's almost done the new case. Zach gives him a slap on the shoulder and tells him, "That a boy." And that pisses Edward off. "Fuck you. I'm not a boy," he thinks to himself. He's right. He's not a boy. He's Babyface. But something's not right as we dive into his mind to find a baby, absolutely fucking phased and all riled up, ready to kill Zach. Respectably, of course. Edward continues to work as Stone heads out for the day. He watches him walk out of the office and tells himself to stop obsessing and just to be normal. It is now late, and Edward is clocking in on some OT. The janitor has now left, and our sneaky boy is about to do some sneaking. He assures himself that it's probably nothing, that it's just a number, and that he shouldn't be overthinking it, referring back to the irregularities in the files from last issue. We know that's not the case, but he tells himself that anyways. "You could get in trouble. Let it go," he says, as he obviously doesn't let it go and proceeds to creep his way into Stone's empty office. He tells himself that he can't let it go, and that he honestly shouldn't be looking into this, but does anyways, acting on nothing but impulse and the sheer desire for the truth of whatever the hell is going on. He finds what he is looking for and is now assured that he was correct all along on his assumptions and that he didn't make a mistake. Edward is a flawless man. He goes on to wonder why no one bothered to even listen to him when he brought up his concerns. He pulls up a file on Waterfront Industries to find that yes, they also represent them as well. The well of sus gets deeper and it's starting to smell worse and worse as time goes on. He tries to find out about the money from New Beginnings, but it isn't there. Something's off. A page is missing. How could that be? He points his flashlight to the shredder to find that the missing pages may in fact be shredded into a million little pieces. Edward's lucky day as he drops to the floor to reassemble the puzzle laying right in front of him. He finds a piece on a Mr. June, the owner of New Beginnings, who was that weird-looking scraggly guy working front desk last issue. He assembles more and more of the hundreds of little shreds of paper while montage music plays in the background as Edward is planted firmly right inside his element. He is living his truth. He is pursuing his dreams. He is aligned with purpose. He is thriving. As he is aligned with all of the divinity and truth given down to him from the universe himself, flourishing entirely within the moment, that's when he cracks the code. Someone is sending a bunch of dirty money to the renewal project. Edward, you're brilliant. Stone, give Zach's office to Babyface right this instant. Fire Zach. Hell, even fire yourself. This is Edward's office now. Edward is on the train heading home, trying to wrap his head around this entire situation. He doesn't know what to do now that he knows that someone is using the renewal funds for money laundering. As Edward is about to slide the key into his apartment, there's a voice off to his right. Disgusting. Eating our garbage, then spreading disease like a parasite. The mysteriously shadowy figure shrouded within smoke and mystery says mysteriously, rats belong in cages, or better yet, dead. Ain't that right, Ed? Edward cautiously looks over and asks if the mystery man just said his name. Mr. Mystery flicks his cigarette and mysteriously walks over to his mysterious car, saying absolutely nothing but adding more to the mystery. Edward gets inside and tells himself he needs to stay calm, to just breathe, and that Mr. Mystery is just another Gotham crazy that's probably just on drops. I mean, either way, if that was the case, the fact that Mr. Mystery knows his name and knows where he lives, that's a pretty big red flag. Time to move. He wonders to himself if he is finally cracking up. I mean, probably. Babyface sits there as he is having visions of him getting the daylights kicked out of him. The podcast from last issue starts playing in his head. Shift your focus, Edward. What you focus on is what you create. It's Hamza, as he tells Edward to stop being such a Jeffrey, as Adonises don't sit around and feel sorry for themselves. Adonises get things done and continue to take action and strive forward even if their lives are flooded with problems and predicaments. Adonises rise up. Adonises succeed. Edward agrees and shifts his focus over to renewal as he loads up the application site to see all of the times he applied for renewal in the past only to be rejected. He tells himself not to go down this road since he has done this time and time again, just trying to find a missing piece, but can never seem to find it. He says that Rene Rouge, the actual voice from the podcast, says that you can look back in the past, but just don't get caught staring. If I got to admit, that's some actually pretty solid advice, though. I'm so bad for getting stuck in the past, but I digress. Edward is getting a little flustered and tells himself he just can't help it, and that he's never had anything to look forward to before. We cut over to a really cool page showing Edward at all of the different stages of his life, from babyface to babyface. The text and pictures come together to form a question mark. It reads, "Here in this file are the pieces of my broken spirit. Leave no man behind. I keep trying to go back to understand how, why could it be so painful to be alive? The things I would do to hug this broken man, my God." We are now at the office. Edward's lost in thought, probably going over all of the ways he can get revenge on Zach for being such a cockblock on his quest to climb the company's ranks. All my life, I've been rejected, passed over, left dangling by my fingernails on the edge of a cliff. Too weak, too scared, too worthless to scream. Help me, I'm falling. How come whenever I try to scream, it never makes a sound? You gotta scream with your diaphragm, Eddie, not your throat, as one would think. Screamonomics 101. As he screams, he lets out his very first guttural. As he spontaneously combusts on his co-workers. Metal as fuck. Gross, his neighboring co-workers think to themselves. How dare he show emotion around us, let alone in the workplace. Janitor, clean this mess up. Shh. Just breathe, he says to himself, as we bring ourselves to Edward still thinking about that dirty renewal fund. Start from the top, Edward, he tells himself as he looks down at his phone and see his Batman background with the affirmations of he matters. He looks down at his paper that reads New Beginnings Animal Rescue with Mr. June written below it. This is when we cut over to the animal rescue to see that it's recycling day. Edward creeps from afar like the creepy boy he is as the recycling bin is wheeled back into the rescue by what appears to be Mr. June. He roams down the street and enters the bank to flirt with the bank teller. Shh, just breathe, he tells himself again as he tries to calm himself down, since he also has a crush on the bank teller lady. He stops this thought process and tells himself that Batman is the only crush he should let his feelings bloom for. He gets over it. Edward continues to watch closely like the nocturnal, shade-ridden animal he aspires to be, and notices that June is looking around for if anybody is watching him as he approaches an unknown door. What are you hiding? Edward thinks to himself. The door opens and an exchange happens. Money? Drugs? Edward tells himself to be careful and that maybe he should just head home, then says he doesn't have a home. Emo moments. He proceeds to tell himself to stop being so ridiculous. I agree. And to remember what Rene Rouge from the podcast says, you are a home within yourself. I can't imagine what the home inside Edward would look like. He stalks June back to his house and goes on to wonder why the owner of two businesses would live in such a shitty housing project. I mean, some people just like shit. I don't know what to tell you, man. We catch up at the office as Babyface is still hung up on the Mr. June thing, since the pieces don't fit. Mr. Stone slithers his way out of his office and summons Edward upstairs. Edward sits down, nervous as fuck, as Stone proceeds to bring up the file he brought to his attention the other day. Babyface clutches the arm of the chair, scared that Stone knows what he's been up to. Just breathe, he says again, as he feels his own pee flowing down his left pant leg from the anxiety. You were right to flag it, Stone says. I will talk to the owner myself and handle any further investigation. Consider it taken care of. Thank you and fuck off, Edward. He continued to say, lying to him so he can try to get Edward to forget about the whole thing. He internally calls him a liar, but at the same time is a little flattered at the fact that someone thanked him. No one thanks him. You're welcome, he replies while sitting in his own piss. Relieved and also embarrassed, he pissed his pants for nothing. But wait. There's more. Stone goes on to say that that's not why he actually called him up here. He proceeds to ask if he has had any past relationship with Wayne Enterprises. No, sir, he lies as he reflects back on the time that Thomas Wayne confronted him as a child. No conflict of interest at all? Stone asks, knowing most likely that babyface is full of shit and not just piss. He reflects again as we see a young Bruce Wayne beside his father and assures Stone that there is none at all. Good, he says. Seems like everyone in this city does. As he brings up the fact that they are being sued again and proceeds to offer him the opportunity to do a full-blown review of their accounts, asking if he would like taking on such a case. Our boy, even though he clearly says that he is not a boy, he's our boy, is riding the subway thinking to himself, could it be that something good could happen to me? He daydreams himself having a total bro moment with Stone, showing off his smarts and intellect, proving what he is capable of. It's what he's always wanted, to be noticed and to be seen. Could it be that this brain will finally get put to use? As Edward further dreams of himself enlightening Stone over some dinner and drinks, as their bond starts to form and begins to gain strength. Could it be that I might feel something other than this pain? As Stone grabs Edward's shoulder in admiration to assure him that he is noticed, that he is respected, that he is admired, and that he is better than Zach. All he could ever want. Stone's face morphs to a monster like the liar he is, because that's what he is. That's what they all are. They're all liars, he says to himself as he is now back in his apartment. The pieces don't fit. He wonders who he can turn to if he sees something wrong, if he has found something he shouldn't have found. Oh yes, his trusty Reddit server, a place full of good people and an even better moral code where respect, honesty, and credibility is always held to the highest degree. He signs in. Right off the bat, he finds a quote saying that it's all a front for the mob. Renewal, most likely. Another quote stating that the government wants everyone on drop so that they can have control of us. I mean, that's pretty typical government behavior. If I can't go to my superiors, if I can't go to the police, then who can I turn to for help? The answer is no riddle. The answer is no one, because people lie. Numbers don't. Numbers are the real ones. It is lunch hour on a Monday. Time for a quick field trip to Tri-Corner. After running some local IP scanners on his laptop, he came across the animal rescue, aka Higgins's lair. He writes down how most CCTVs are still running on factory settings, or just haven't been updated yet. He says to himself how it's an easy hack if you know where to go. He likes to learn since it empowers him, and we're all for the empowerment of one Edward Nashton. Except to a certain degree, of course. That is why he writes his own code. He presses enter and voila! Higgins' dark and secret lair is now penetrated by Edward himself as he smiles at his penetration skills. Ed switches cameras and quickly notices how they are all on a closed circuit loop. He hits the record button. Back at work, he is slaving away on the Wayne case that Stone put him up to. It is lunchtime again as he needs to find a safe place to review footage, since discretion is of the utmost importance. While reviewing Cam 3, he admits that invisibility is his power. He has the brains. All of the brains, but not the bronze to give these crooks some vengeance. So that's why he stayed creeping, as he admits to himself that he has turned his weakness into a strength. He switches the camera too, as we see Higgins bagging some drops. Edward has a Batman moment as he cracks the case, or so he thinks. So this Mr. June, he's running drops through his business, laundering it through another shell company, Waterfront Industries, so it's harder to trace. But who is that woman he saw earlier? What part does she play in all of this? And why is he sending dirty money to Renewal? Probably to keep up appearances. A charitable company donating money to a charitable cause. Makes sense, right? But how? How do you do it? How did you take the leap? The leap to take matters into your own hands when everyone else around you looks the other way. Batman is seen suiting up, and that's when it dawns him. He needs an alter ego of his own so that he can be undetected, hiding behind a disguise of his own. Edward makes a trip to the army store, beginning his stockpile of vigilante accessories and wonders if Batman ever gets scared. If he gets scared of what he might find or what he might do. He wonders who Batman is during the day to be who he is at night. What is it that drives him to risk your life every single night for what you believe in, to believe in yourself, to be yourself, as we see Batman beat a thug to near brain damage, because that is who he is at his highest, most enlightened, and most defined, a force that cripples everyone in his way, a healthy way of living. To seek justice in this god-forsaken city. He told me he was vengeance. I was scared shitless of this freak. To be like him, a fire burning inside of me, a fire inside. He puts in his earphones to play some old AFI. He chooses God Called In Sick today, suiting since God gave up on Gotham long ago, and it assures Edward that he can in fact get up to any shady activity he can think of, with God turning a blind eye to his antics, since Gotham is and always has been a godless city. A cesspool of heathens and heathens alike, ready to rip each other's throats out at every given instant. Roadhouse. The lights are coming on again. All of these rooms dark, abandoned, alive again. Lights, camera, action. Good evening, Mr. June. Going somewhere? No, sir. Not going anywhere. Do you know why I'm here, Mr. June? No, sir. No one told me you were coming. There was an employee at my company who brought to my attention your work in the books. We weren't expecting that, thankfully. That's been taken care of, and I'm keeping an eye on him just in case. I change the numbers every week, sir, just like you show me. Maybe so, but it's a good thing that my employee caught it. Because do you know what I saw when I looked beyond the official books? When I looked at our product and cash flow, I saw that someone was skimming a little money off the top. Not me, sir. I manage stores, sir. Just like you show me, I do a good job, sir. This is your daughter, is it not? Yes, And what's in the envelope? I give her money I earn so she can leave Gotham someday, sir. And you were planning to go with her? No, I mean, yes, I take her there, then I come back. Mr. June, someone taking money from our store means someone is taking money from me. And someone taking money from me means someone is taking money from Falcone. You are aware of what happens to people who take money from Mr. Falcone, don't you? No, sir, it was not me. I swear, sir, that money, that's my money. I work hard for that money. I earn that money I give to her. I'm disappointed, Mr. June. Goodbye. Mr. Stone, wait, I swear it was not me. You're coming with us to the back of the store, pal. No! Babyface yells and frantically climbs down the ladder, off the roof. June is then unloaded from the van and hauled inside of the dark, underground lair. Edward makes way to the diner so that he can load up his laptop and peer in on what's going on and what's really going on inside Higgins' secret lair. He chimes into the correct camera, enables the audio, and listens. It's a mistake, please. I brought my daughter here so she could have a better life. But life is worse here in Gotham. I'm trying to get my family out of this city of hell. But that is my money I earn. I earn that money. June helplessly screams as Higgins and unknown man number 1 chain him up by the legs and hoist June up for what I assume to be a royal ass kicking. Higgins confesses that since he had to make bail, he was the one who took the cash off the top, and he'll make sure that his daughter is taken care of. Dude, come on, June deserves so much better than this. What a rat bastard Higgins is. Higgins then asks June if he knows how Mr. Falcone gets rid of his dead bodies. June yells out no, because he knows that Falcone's favorite song is Dead Body Disposal by Necro, and he will in fact have the lyrics of that song acted out upon him, but in a much more Gotham way. He lets out one last no, and multiple cracks, crunches, and ahs are heard from all corners of the dungeon as something from the depths of the pits, from the depths of hell itself, bites June's head off. Edward stares in complete shock, complete horror at what he is witnessing. He hits record to further build upon the pile of dirt that he is collecting. Shh, just breathe, as we leave Edward as he fades away to black. A lady and her baby await at the train station looking uneasy. She checks her ticket. It's June's daughter, Anna. She knows what has happened. Probably not to the degree of what happened, but she knows June is no longer with her, as she eagerly awaits the train to leave the cesspool that is Gotham City. It is there that she can start a new life away from the scum that is, where her and her child can grow together, where her child can have a chance at a happy and healthy life. She looks up. Higgins. Going somewhere, Miss June? Oh man. Oh man, what an ending. I really hope that Miss June can get out of this and get to where she wants to go and not be succumbed to Higgins' lair. Speaking of Higgins, what a piece of work getting June killed for something that he did and knew he was going to get accused for. This was yet again another issue of excellence, as we got confirmation of Edward's sketchy findings, that he works for some shady people and that taking part of corruption is the only way to work your way up inside the company. Edward is now slowly on his way to self-realization, as he is on his own twisted and dark ways of self-improvement, as Edward strives to be like the Bat himself, to guide him in ways not even God could if he didn't call in sick to Gotham that day long ago to just not show back up again. So with all that being said, I'm wrapping things up. My name is Freddy Savage, bringing you the Riddler, Year 1, Issue 2. And I'll see you again in issue 3. Peace.